Hey, welcome back to my channel and thank you for spending time with me, T. So today's video is going to be about my diagnosis. It was a very scary time for me and I just wanted to share the story because it is breast cancer month and so many women, they say 1 in 8, are faced with this horrible breast cancer. Disease, I guess. So let's get into it. So March 16th was the day that I went in for my appointment because I had some concerns. Now, just to give you some backstory, I had a baby in April. She was 2 months early and we were in the NICU for 9 weeks. I was pumping and providing milk that way for her. We got home in June and some other life things happened, and to be honest, things got stressful. So by probably October, I probably was weaning off breast pumping. I was not getting as much milk. And so by November, maybe, I felt like I noticed something in my breast and I just thought, oh, it's probably a clogged duct because I stopped somewhat abruptly in my pumping and I had already been back to work. And so that was my concern. I kind of let it go. I mentioned it to my husband. Here we are. Christmas comes by, we're in the new year, and I'm noticing that this lump on the right side is bothering me. And I decided to make an appointment. He was like, you need to make an appointment. And I was like, it's nothing. It's a clogged duct. It's gonna go by. It's gonna work its way out. But it started to bother me more under my armpits. So I decided to make that appointment. And I couldn't get in, I guess, until March. And so COVID hits and we're home from school. And my appointment, so school closed a Thursday, I believe, Thursday or Friday, and I had my appointment Monday, and I had that time off to even take, I had that time off to go to the doctor. So I go in and I went in to see my OB because that's kind of who I had recently last seen instead of just my general doctor. And so she does her exam, we talk, and she feels the lump on the right side, but then ding, 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 she finds a lump on the left side. And I'm shocked because I don't notice it. It's in a different spot. It doesn't hurt, it's not bothering me, but it was there. So what came after that was a series of tests. So after the concern and my OB finding both lumps, she recommended that I would get ultrasound. I think that was followed by a bilateral mammogram. And once those things went through and those results were read, I think more, they don't worry you, it's amazing. They definitely saw something that caused some concern, so more tests were needed to be done. After my bilateral mammogram, there was a little bit of waiting, not much. The radiologist obviously read the report and probably discussing things with the surgeon, general surgeon at that point. It was decided that I needed to have a bilateral biopsy. And from what maybe the radiologist found with the mammogram, they decided to do the biopsy on both. All of a sudden, it seemed like the right wasn't as major as the left, but once the biopsies were done, they realized that they're both cancerous. So I go into the general surgeon now. another female, amazing, her office, and she unfortunately is the one to give me the bad news. I'm by myself. It's COVID time. You're not taking anybody to your appointments. You're alone. And I don't mean to get emotional. I knew I was going to on this video, but when she said cancer, my mind was blown and instant tears. That was not on my radar. I don't know why. Maybe because we're living in a bubble and the COVID stuff. Cancer was not on my radar. I just instantly broke down. I have 3 children, married, and I just thought I'm not going to be around for them. That was my instant thought, and I just went to a dark place. So after processing the news, having basically a breakdown, and being in shock, I don't know. It was tough. So my doctor knew I was good friends with a nurse practitioner that worked in the building, and she was awesome and was able to call her to come over to give me love and support, because at that time I couldn't have my husband there with me or anybody be with me at the appointment because of COVID. That was a restriction that the hospital had. And so having a friend there, that kind of helped me process a little bit that I wasn't dreaming, was nice to have. So it was all kind of a blurb, just kind of processing everything. The doctor explained to me that my right side, that my progesterone and my estrogen levels were negative, and my HERS was negative. So my right side, and I think I said left, but my right side was more aggressive and more concerning after all, in the end. My left side, my progesterone and my estrogen were positive, and my HERS was negative. I live in a small community, and some people would say to go a couple hours away to find, possibly in their opinion, maybe a better doctor or just another opinion. But with COVID, it just was going to be tricky. My triple negative wasn't an unusual type of cancer. And so I went with an oncologist in town, and I'm grateful for that decision because with everything going on, it was the best decision for me. And the ball was rolling. I had CT, chest, abdomen, maybe my pelvic. I had MRI. I had PET scan, bone scan, you name it. They were scheduling, and because of COVID time, things weren't maybe as necessarily as busy, so I was really lucky enough to get in. So by, I want to say April 1 or April, so thinking of when I started March 16th, the next 2 weeks or so just went by really quickly, getting in appointments and kind of figuring out a plan. And by April 6th, I was able to decide who I wanted my oncologist to be. And by that date, I was already going in to get my port, as you can see here. And by April 7th, I started my first round of chemotherapy. And so chemo lasted from April 7th through July 14th. With all my tests prior to my chemo, I want to say once you get your diagnosis, you think that might be it, but there's all these other things that need to be established, or you need to learn about, the doctors need to learn about. And so I was very lucky and fortunate that cancer was nowhere else in my body. which was also the waiting game and stressful time for me after the PET scan and the MRI and the bone scan. Actually, it's probably the bone scan and the PET scan were the scariest, waiting to see if cancer had spread. Just thinking back, it just sucked. It just sucked. I had a baby. She wasn't even a year old. And I'm going through this. So what I want to say is do your breast exams, ladies. I'm 38. I do have a history of breast cancer in my family. Not something that we really talked much about. Through my diagnosis, I got genetic testing done, and I learned that I am BRCA2 positive, so the BRCA. I have the BRCA gene, number 2, and that just means that I have a higher chance of getting breast cancer. The percentages go up for somebody like me, and they're even higher if you have BRCA1. I also learned that my chances of getting ovarian cancer are higher as well. And so I think if, no fault of my family's, but if we had talked more about our genetic history or just our family history, I might have started mammograms sooner. I guess we don't know. I am just grateful I caught it. And I guess what I would say to anybody out there is maybe try to know your genetic history or your family history if you can. It's not easy for everybody to know that. And if you do find that you have the gene, then you need to get tested sooner than 40 and also do breast exams, because it's so important. It's so important. I think knowledge is power. And so I'm grateful that I know now for my girls. I have 2 girls and a boy. And so they'll be able to get tested sooner than later as they grow up. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to show more and share more about my chemo, my last day of chemo. I am blessed to know so many amazing people in my community and work with amazing people, and also to have an amazing family that has supported me through this. So more fun videos